Welcome, welcome, welcome. You're listening to the Ask Brien radio show. Everybody knows Brien is spelled with an E, A-S-K-B-R-I-E-N. And Ask Brien is the name of the radio show. AskBrien.com, C-O-M, is the website. And for those of you who have never listened to the Ask Brien radio show, I don't know. You've been missing out. We've been on the air now. I was just thinking about that. Our first show we did in December of 2016. December 2016. I mean, that was right after the election. And now we're already back for another election coming up. So we've been around for a while. We've been helping people learn business things, et cetera, et cetera. We have our co-host. Her name is Lindsay. Man!
Hey, Brien. Thanks for having me here as
Woohoo!
always. Brien, I have a feeling that somebody is going to outmatch your energy today.
Well, we'll see.
I've been listening to his amazing podcast, I can tell you.
Well, we still have a couple more things to go over, like the Ask Brien website. So for those of you who have never, ever listened, again, to the Ask Brien radio show, well, I don't know what to tell you. You've been missing out. Finally, everyone comes to their senses every once in a while. You finally came to your senses. You realize, I need the Ask Brien radio show, and I need the Ask Brien website. Well, what is the Ask Brien website? And it's AskBrien.com. Okay. Now, Ask Brien is a website where we have a community of business owners that have business questions and business problems. That's how we started. But then we realized these business owners, while they could ask the community and get business information from the community, they would prefer to get answers and questions and information from experts. So we added on experts. So what do? We match an expert to a individual for solving a business problem. So if you have a marketing problem, a finance problem, you can't get your bills paid on time, you don't know how to increase your sales, marketing's not working, you don't know how to set up your accounting records, any of these type of problems that a business owner might have, they can find the answers on AskBrien.com. They can match themselves up with an expert. Now, to become an expert, not everyone will become an expert. Not everyone is qualified. I'm sorry to tell you that. But if you are qualified, and what is our general standard? Well, we have a couple of standards. Minimum 10,000 hours. 10,000 hours. Why? Well, if you're working 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year, that's 2,000. After 5 years, you've probably dealt with a lot of business problems, a lot of issues in a specific area, and you're probably at that point qualified. Is that the only criteria? No. There's people that are on Wikipedia, there are people that are qualified, that have accomplished certain goals in their life that can exclude the 10,000 hour requirement. Do we use a bot or an automatic logarithm or something to figure out if you can become an expert? No. We take it very seriously who our experts are. Our experts are Ask Brien. And what do we do for each expert? We vet them. What does that mean? Well, we'll take a look at your website if you have one. We'll ask you questions. We'll go through an interview process. Not everyone can become an expert. That doesn't mean you can't become an expert in a future date. But not everyone is qualified to be an expert initially. We want experts to be answering questions. And each expert, what do they get? Well, they get a profile page that allows them to include any webinar, any video, any blog post, any ebook on their profile. And everyone who has a webinar can then post their webinars on the Ask Brien webinar schedule device. What does that mean? Well, people can come in, and if they want to find a video on sales or accounting or any other subject, website design, they can go to the website webinar schedule. They can then add it to their Google or Outlook or whatever, and they can have it calendared in their system. So Ask Brien is all about helping people solve business problems. Ask Brien Radio is an extension of that. What does that mean? It means that just like we help people on the website, we also try to help people on the radio show. And each week, we try to select somebody that can help somebody else. And, okay, now without any further ado, does people know what ado means? I don't know. These people are giving me questions here.
All right, Brien, let's get this show rolling.
Is there a Mr. Forte there?
I think I'm here.
Woohoo! What was that?
How's it going?
Hoo-yah! You're in the Army now. All right. So, before we get, let's go over your background. So how did you come into, what is your expertise?
Oh man, I don't really know. I guess I just have to. I'm gonna be a little sarcastic if you are. No, my
I know how to
background
count.
is actually.
Yeah, I can count. I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can count. That's my expertise.
Perfect. That's your expertise. Well, mine might be a little bit different than that. Can you count to 5 million?
I can, but we'll be here a very long
good.
time.
Good. So my background, my area of expertise is actually social media growth. I got started about 3 years ago on Instagram, and in the past 3.5 years or so, I've grown and managed over 5 million followers on social media, on Instagram and Facebook. And then in the whole process of growing that, learned all about what it takes to be a good marketer and a good salesman. And so after selling that original company, the agency that grew and managed a lot of the growth stuff on there, I started a consulting agency where I helped business owners actually bring their products to market using social media and marketing tactics that we call sales funnels. And then I also have a podcast now, which started back at the beginning of this year in January, which is very much focused on mindset, sales, and just all around what it means to be successful in all areas of life, not just business. So health, wealth, relationships, business, finances, things of that nature. And so that's kind of my background. My area of expertise is really social media marketing and sales, and I'm a big mindset geek.
So question for you, you said 5 million, okay? And so my question is, give us an estimated background. Are we talking 5 million Instagram? We're talking about 3 million Instagram, 2 million Facebook. What's the breakdown?
I would say probably 3.5 million, probably 4 million, probably 4 million on Insta, and probably close to 1 million on Facebook.
Wow. And you started that from scratch?
Yeah, from scratch. I've never bought a follower, never bought a fake follower, used bot automation, all genuine, all real, all from my $450 a month apartment that I used to live in when I first got started, dead broke after I quit my job.
Wow. So how do you start? All right. So let's say we're in the community here, Santa Clarita. Let's say somebody doesn't have an Instagram account. They sign up for Instagram. How are they going to get their first 10,000?
Ooh, well, so it's interesting. What you have to remember is, like, when I got started on Instagram 3 years ago, there was 300 million people on the platform. Now there's over 1 billion. So the market is much more saturated, and the opportunity for organic growth is diminishing versus, Instagram wants their money. So it's really, really important that we focus on the 4 core pillars of Instagram, which the first one of that is content. And I know it sounds like redundant, and, a lot of people, good quality content, good quality this, but really, truly speaking, like that, all of Instagram revolves around quality content. So the first thing that you've really got to focus on is producing high quality content and content that's relevant to the audience that you're wanting to serve, but also that has a viral feature to it, something that's shareable. A lot of people, they put out really good content, but it's not at all shareable. It's like a motivational quote with a picture of themselves and their dog. That's not really shareable content. And so you really want to, make sure that you've got shareable content out there. You want to be posting consistently because the more you post, the more exposure that you're going to be getting. And then the final 2 would be hashtags and networking. I think networking, we can all agree, is the key to success in any area of life. It is no different on Instagram. And so if you can really, target well with your hashtags and then be in the DMs, networking with other Instagrammers and doing shout outs and collaborations and things like that, you really can get to 10,000 followers relatively quickly if you're committed to it.
Now, do you sell a program for that, or this is just your own background and you just have done it yourself and you don't sell a package or a program for that?
So we do have programs for it. Right now in our business, we're focused more specifically on social media marketing as a whole rather than purely just growing your Instagram following, simply because the audience that we serve is more focused on that. However, we do have a program that does cover Instagram growth and Facebook growth combined. It's called Social Media Secrets, and that covers the fundamental basics of all that. And that was released, I think, maybe a year ago or so. So relatively current. It's about 4.5 hours worth of content in there.
Now, Wow, that's a lot of information. Now, a lot of people don't even know the basics of what you're talking about. So, I mean, some people know hashtags from Twitter, and but explain to people hashtag and how that works and how that identifies on Instagram when you have an account.
Yeah, so the thing is with Instagram, like Instagram's this weird platform, right, that like you see all these people making tons of money with, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, we can make money on Instagram, we can grow on Instagram, we can get Instagram famous, and you can. I mean, that's a legitimate thing, and I have friends that literally travel the world in 5-star hotels and private jets all off of Instagram. But at the end of the day, like Instagram is simply just a social media platform. And so how I like to think of Instagram is, how I like to think of hashtags is you're simply categorizing your content and organizing it through the hashtags that you use. So think of like this big, huge, massive pot with all of Instagram content, the billions and billions and billions of posts in it. And inside that pot, there's like walls and there's dividers and there's sections, right? It's this big, huge, almost like a graph. And you look down on it and there's all these different things. Well, when you're using a hashtag, basically what you're doing is telling Instagram that your piece of content is related to this category. And then Instagram will then place your image in that appropriate slot that you have now told them to post it in. And so you go and let's say I use 10 hashtags. I've now categorized my photo 10 different ways. It's in 10 different slots. And as people go and browse through what they're interested in, right, they're browsing through the slots that they're interested in, they may or may not come across my photo if it's in that slot. And if it gets good engagement, it's going to be higher up in the news feed. If it doesn't get good engagement, it's going to be lower in the news feed. But it's simply categorizing your content so that people can search for it and people can find it if they have similar interests to what it is that you're talking about or posting about. Does that make sense?
So for Ask Brien, we would want CEOs, startups, entrepreneurs, that type of people, that type of hashtags that you would ask us to do if we were handling an Instagram account. Is that correct?
Yes. So more specifically for you, yes, you could use those hashtags, but what I would do is I would think about what your target market is searching for. So think about if you're targeting CEOs and entrepreneurs, are CEOs and entrepreneurs going to be searching and looking at the hashtag CEO and entrepreneur? Some of them may be, some of them may not, and that's why it's important to know your audience. And so that's why we would start there. Yeah, we would start by putting in that hashtag CEO, and then we would look for related hashtags and things like that. But we don't just want to necessarily use the name of what it is who it is that we're targeting, like, CEO. Chances are if you're a CEO of a company, you're probably not searching the CEO hashtag on Instagram. But if CEOs of the company are interested in marketing tactics, right, maybe they're searching marketing tactics on Instagram, so you could use hashtag marketing tactics or something related to that. So it's all based on what your target market is actually searching for. Those are the type of hashtags that you're going to want to use so that you can go and get your content in front of those specific people.
So if a CEO is looking for a job, he might want to look at CEO.
Right.
Okay. Lindsay had a question.
Well, I'm just kind of curious to know, you have 5 million followers, so you must have a lot of people to keep track of. How do you do it, and how many different types of people do you have that do different things, and how do you manage that?
He has me counting to 5 million. Remember?
Yeah. It's a great question, Lindsay, though. So just to clarify, I personally do not have 5 million followers on social media. This is what we've done. I mean, we ran an agency, so we ran this for clients. And so this was, spread out across, several dozen different clients that we ran and managed, some of them in the, 10 to 50,000 follower range, some of them in the 100 to 500,000 follower range, and things of that nature. So how we do it, I'm trying to think back to when I owned the agency. I think we probably had a team of maybe 6 or 7 VAs that we had that would just produce content for us. Because when you're, we talked about posting and creating good content. Like once you figure out what good content is, you have to produce a lot of content if you want to grow quickly. And so, back in the day, we were producing 4 pieces of content per day per account. I mean, we were putting out anywhere from, 50 to 150 pieces of content per day.
Oof.
And so when we had a whole team of VAs that were doing market research for us and then creating content. And then I had a business partner in that one. So he and I both worked. We had an assistant I'm trying to think, maybe there's probably 10, 7, 8, 9 of us maybe in that specifically. And then when I sold that, I mean, that kind of just, when I got out of that, I transitioned into what I have now. And now I have an agency that has 5 employees that manages a lot of the marketing side of things. And then my podcast is me and a team of 2.
How were you able to afford, hiring the people to provide the content? Were people working on equity for you, or did you pay people?
We paid. No, so I don't give up any equity in the companies unless you're a business partner. So in 2 of the 3 companies that I have started, I have had business partners in. One of them I own outright. But for the people that are creating content for us and whatnot, we do hire them. We've found that some of the most talented people actually come from other countries. And not that, I mean, like, we have American staffers, we have Canadian people. I have currently right now, I have someone that works for me in America, Finland, Australia, Canada, and the Philippines, I believe. So, like, I mean, we kind of hire from all over the world, and we just go and figure out who can do the best job for us. And, they'll submit their work and whatnot. But we paid them all out of pocket right from the get-go when I eventually started hiring people. I think your original question was, how did I afford that? Is that correct?
Yeah, right.
So at the beginning, I couldn't. And so that's why, like, I did it all myself. And so one of the things that, people look at someone that maybe has had some success on social media or in any company or whatever, there's always a backstory. And so my backstory on that is, like, for 7 straight months, I didn't leave my house at all except to go to Walmart, church, and the grocery store. I didn't go to a party, a movie. I didn't see my family. Like, I worked for literally 18 hours a day, 7 days a week for 7 months straight. And that's not a exaggeration, like 18 straight hours. And doing that, like, I was the one creating content. I was the one doing hashtag research. I was the one, like, going out there and building this whole entire thing up. And then it got to the point where, number one, I couldn't do it anymore for my health. But finally, after 7 months, it started to pay off, and I started seeing revenue coming in, and I lived super frugally. I mean, I think my whole entire cost of living was under $2,000 a month, or $2,400 a month, I think. I mean, like, we're talking, like, eating the cheapest food I could possibly find, and every single dollar I made for the first year and a half, I put right back into the business to be able to afford to pay staffers and to pay for the softwares and things that we needed in order to make that happen.
Right. God, it sounds like you're being very smart about every single move that you made. How did you find these workers? Did you use, like, Upwork? Did you use Fiverr? What kind of, are these people freelancers, the content makers?
Yeah, so a couple of them were freelancers, and some of them are actually full-time employees. I mean, a lot of the people that we work with, they start as a freelancer, and then we like them, and then hire them on full-time. But where we found them was actually, like, just on Facebook. I had a Facebook group, and I still have it. I mean, it's called Social Media for Entrepreneurs, and there's about 30,000 people in there. When you have that many people, it's not hard to find people that want to take your money. And so when you put out a post for something, even back when we only had, I think when we first started hiring our first people, we maybe had 2,000 or 3,000 people in the group. When you're good at what you do and people, like, see that you get results and are willing to pay, like, they want to come work for you. And so we would just put out a post and say, hey, here's what we're looking for. We're looking for someone to start part-time. Here's what we're looking to do, like, submit your resume here. And we would have people from all over the world literally go and do that. I remember one time I was hiring an assistant, and my pitch was, hey, you get to literally work next to me and manage my, like, daily schedule. Why people find that attractive, I have no idea. They must think I'm cool or something. I don't know. But we got like 40-something applications for people from all over the world wanting that job. And they would submit their resumes. They would take personality tests. I mean, like, we had them go through a pretty rigorous thing to find the right person from all over the world, because, Facebook and social media connects us to the ends of the world. And a lot of these people are on Fiverr too. We use Fiverr a lot and Upwork, but most of them actually came through Facebook.
Awesome. Well, Josh, it looks like we have to take a break right now. We'll be right back.
Have you heard about Assistance League Retail Store? For a good time and a great deal and bargains that are an amazing steal, there are friendly volunteers ready to share a smile. So come on in and stay a while. We take donations on gently used goods, and proceeds from our sales stay in the neighborhood. So for a great buy and a special find, come visit our store anytime. Assistance League Resale Store located at 24369 Main Street in downtown Newhall.
Coming to the Ponderosa Mall's concert series at the AV Fair, Tuesday, August 20th, Travis Tritt. And special guest, Charlie Daniels. And coming Wednesday, August 21st, Big and Rich and Cowboy Troy. Get your tickets today at avfair.com. This year's fair is presented by IBEW and Nika.
Save a horse, ride a cowboy.
Western Bagel has been serving signature bagels, sandwiches, and hand-roasted coffee since 1947. They're family-owned and operated with 11 locations across SoCal, including Santa Clarita on Bouquet and the Old Kmart Shopping Center. Western Bagel makes their own whipped cream cheese, offering over 10 flavors along with other goodies, pastries, cookies, and muffins. Delicious Western bagels. Check out their Bagel Brad Deal of the Week, emailed to you every Monday when you register at westernbagel.com.
Hometown, your hometown station.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Ask Brien Radio Show, spelled ASKBRIE. And just like the website, askbrien.com, ASKBRIEN.com. We're having a great conversation here. And we have our co-host, Lynn Z-Man.
Oh, yeah.
And we have our great guest, who's, by the way, I don't even know where he's located. You know what? I've never asked him where he is. So, Mr. Where are you located?
I'm currently sitting in, can't make up its mind about the weather, Omaha, Nebraska.
Now, that is dead center America.
Dead center America.
Also where all the call centers are located before they move to India. But, hey, it's a true fact, pal. So, I'm a New Yorker. Anyway, that is really dead center. So, we were talking about a couple of things here. One of the questions I have is you had this great thing that I was listening to about mistakes that entrepreneurs make. So I would like you to tell us, what are the 5 biggest mistakes that entrepreneurs make?
Oh, boy. Well, that's a loaded question. I think the one that you were referring to was the 5 common sales mistakes.
Correct.
Do you want to go the route of sales mistakes, or do you want to go the route of just in general what I think the top 5 are?
Entrepreneurs.
Entrepreneurs in general, not sales.
Well, because that one I can just go to a YouTube video and listen to it.
That's correct. You can.
But I'm putting you on the spot because I like to do that.
If you're going to put me on the spot, and that's okay. I do fairly well under what's it called? Just
pressure.
Impromptu.
Pressure.
So, yeah, under pressure. I don't know if it's pressure. It's pretty lighthearted. But no, I think the number
one
mistake.
Are you sweating?
I'm not sweating. No, thankfully not.
Probably not from you, Brien.
I'm not. Then I didn't do a good enough job. I'll ask you a harder question next time. Go ahead.
All right. Well, bring it on. Let's see what we got. Okay, so the top 5 mistakes. I think the number one mistake that entrepreneurs make in general is they lack focus. There's no question about that. They, especially in this internet marketing world that we live in with Instagram and Facebook, lack of focus and shiny object syndrome just kills so many dreams and so many people's beliefs. One of the things that the internet has done so well is given us so many opportunity, but at the same time, it's a double-edged sword because when something goes wrong, I can just move on to the next one and not stay focused and commit to something. And so I think lack of focus is the biggest thing that a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with. Number 2, I would say, is not understanding the power of the mind and mindset in general. I think that most entrepreneurs don't understand people in general, but specific entrepreneurs don't understand how powerful their mind really is. And when you really start to look into, what's on your shoulders. I mean, we're talking about the most complex thing known to, mankind, and the thoughts that you think and, where you're putting your time and your energy and your focus in your mind really plays a massive, massive role into what actually plays out in real life. And that's part of the reason Think Different Theory started, is just based out of that concept there and mastering your mindset. Go ahead.
Are you referring to positive mental attitude, or are you referring to something different?
I mean, positive mental attitude is part of it. I mean, but I'm not saying you have to be positive all the time. You want to remain positive as much as possible, but simply just being aware of what's going on in your head. So one of the things that, you will learn if you study the mind at all is 90% of everything that you do on a daily basis. So I want you to think about that. Everything. That includes your thoughts, your actions, the way you talk, think, walk, interact, what you buy, what you do. All of that is subconscious, 90% of it. So that means 90% of who you are and what you do, you don't even realize that you're doing it. It just happens. And so when you start to understand that, you start to realize that, okay, well, how do you control that subconscious mind? How do you really understand the power of that? And if you're, always around negative people, well, you're going to be negative. And if you're always around, positive people, you're probably going to be more positive. But that plays out in every area and every aspect. And so that's why, every day I try to run. I try to, spend at least, 30 minutes, 45 minutes reading every single day, something positive. Because if I want to change my life, if I can just create a habit that's going to get me in a more positive state, or if I'm going to, create a habit that's going to get me healthier or make me more money or have a better relationship, if I can change my habits, all of a sudden I start doing those things subconsciously without even realizing it. And you can kind of hack your way to success by just defaulting who you are, that 90% of you, to successful habits. And that's really, really powerful when you really start to understand that. And when you really look at energy and quantum physics and start to look at how everything in the universe ties together, we're all connected. And I don't have time to go into quantum theory and things like that. But when you really look at that and understand hey, we're 0.001% physical and 99.9999% energy, and we're all connected. And that's crazy stuff. And this is scientifically proven. And so people just don't understand how powerful a thought is, how powerful habits are, how powerful just simply being disciplined in your mental state and attitude is. And I think that's a huge mistake for most entrepreneurs.
So that was number 2, which we spent a little time on it because I had to ask a powerful question. Now we're on mistake number 3.
Mistake number 3 is I think that they think that they can do it all themselves. They don't realize that they need help. One of a dear friend of mine and someone that I respect a lot, he's like, I don't understand why people think they need to know it all. He's like, he makes millions of dollars, and he's like, I have literally a coach for everything. I have a coach for my health. I have a coach for my business. And he is a coach, in business. So that's one of the products that he offers is coaching. He's like, I have a coach for my health. I have a coach for my business. I have a coach for my, everything about my life, because I know that I'm not the greatest at it. And so when we start to think I can figure it all out, or I'm going to do it all myself, and don't realize the importance of maybe having a team or learning from someone that's smarter than you and systemizing things out, that plays a very big downfall into most entrepreneurs. So that would be number 3. 4th, and by the way, these are in no particular order. These are just kind of, the top 5, I would say. 4th one would be ego. There's a book, a phenomenal book by one of my favorite authors, Ryan Holiday, and the book's called Ego is the Enemy. And when you really read that book, that will just teach you so much about how much our pride and our ego gets in the way of everything in all aspects of our life and really holds us back from becoming what we really could actually become, and the person that we're meant to become. Ego is the thing that ultimately gets in the way, and every great leader in some format or another battled with that, and the book brings out some really fascinating points about that. So I think ego is a huge one.
All right, hold on, because before we get to the last one, we had to have a drum roll for that. Okay. Go ahead. Now that we have the drum roll, now we can do number 5.
So we have, let's recap. Number 1 was focus, right? Number 2 was the power of the mind. Number 3 was trying to do it all yourself. Number 4 was ego. I'm trying to think what I would say that number 5 the biggest mistake I think entrepreneurs make. I think probably not understanding the power of just compound interest and time. They try to get everything now. This was a huge mistake that I made early on, and I lost, a lot of momentum, a lot of money, a lot of, potential just by trying to get it too fast. We live in a world of instant gratification now, have to have it, like everything is instantaneous. And so when you understand that, like, good things take time, like you got to work for it, and compound interest, like that magnifies. And when you're smart with your money, like you can get rich. Anybody in the whole entire world, no matter where you are, if you have access to the internet, like you have the ability to go get really wealthy. It might take you 10 or 20 or 30 years, but like you can do it. And a lot of people, they just want it now. And they like want to make $10,000 tomorrow. They want to be a millionaire next week. And when you just understand that, like, hey, when you put in the time and when you put in the effort, like the longer something takes to actually build, the harder it is to destroy. And so if you get rich overnight, you can lose it overnight. But if you get rich over the course of 30 years and just being smart with your money, smart with your time, like it would take a lot to be able to wipe that all out.
Absolutely. Josh, it sounds like you have a lot of passion and interest in a lot of things. So, I mean, do you have a degree in like astrophysicist or psychology? I hear you talking about all these things about the energy and the subconscious mind and stuff. How did this develop for you personally?
Oh man, well, I'd like to think that I'm a philosopher or psychologist at heart, but and I mean, I wouldn't call myself either one of those things. No, I'm a college dropout. I dropped out after one semester. Funny story about that. Like I was actually in a class with a very, not to get political, but someone that had very different political views than I did when it came to capitalism. I am a hardcore capitalist, and I believe that, ethical capitalism or conscious capitalism is the way to fix the world with checks and balances. But this particular professor was not that way at all. And we were in a philosophy class, and he was just bashing on it. And so we went back and forth, and we were chit-chatting, and he said that college was needed to be successful in life. And I said, well, no, it isn't. And he says, well, then why are you here? And I'm not one to really like to be like, aha, got you. So I was like, you know what, you're right. So I just stood up, I said I quit, I walked out, and I never went back. And here we are. So,
wow.
Yeah. So I'm a college dropout. But honestly, the whole philosophy and psychology thing really just started. I was homeschooled. I have 7 brothers and sisters. I grew up on a farm, and my mom was just all about, I grew up religious. So, I mean, my mom was all about, like, knowing why you believe, what you believe, and faith and, just purpose and meaning and all that. So it comes from my background there. But I really just started to have a passion about it when I realized and got into this business world and system and realized like how corrupt it was. And not only that, like how many people you can make so much money so quickly, you can have so much success and fame and just be miserable and be depressed. And so from a psychology standpoint, in that sense, I think that really played out once I got into the business world. And then from a philosophical standpoint with purpose and meaning and energies and things like that, my older brother actually tragically passed away in a helicopter crash back in March of this year. And so, yeah, so that was really, really rough. But that really put me on the path to more of the spiritual philosophy side of things because he was really, really into that. And we talked about it a lot. And then, obviously when something traumatic like that happens in your life, you start to focus on things that maybe matter a little bit more to you rather than just money.
Absolutely.
Isn't Omaha where Warren Buffett lives?
It is. Good old Warren Buffett just down the street from me.
Well, is he taking classes from you yet?
Is he taking classes from me? Oh, my. Oh, heavens, no. My word. No, although maybe I hear he eats McDonald's every morning, and I do love McDonald's, so I don't know. Maybe I picked that up from him.
I invest in that stock. They've done pretty well.
Yeah.
So, now, if somebody were just starting out a business, okay, and they've got nothing, all right, what would you tell them the number one thing they can do?
Focus. 100%. Pick one thing and stick with it. And I want to bring context around that to say, if you are lucky enough to know exactly what it is that you want to do in life, like if you are passionate about something, you don't understand how lucky you are. Most people have no idea what they want to do with their life. And so if you are that person that's like, hey, I have a passion for, and you name it, like it could be anything. It could be reading or podcasting or photography or art or cars or plumbing. Like, it doesn't matter. If you have a passion about that, like, just focus 100% of your time and effort on that and make your whole life revolve around, or as much of your life as you want to dedicate around it. Don't sacrifice your family or relationships, but like as much of it as you can, like just make that happen. Go all in, bet on yourself, invest every penny, like just bet on you and focus on one thing.
What if you have too many passions?
Yeah.
What if you have too many passions and you don't know which one to choose?
So obviously there's a lot of different opinions on what to do with that. I think this really comes down to like personal evaluation and like knowing yourself. My answer to that would be, if you're 25 years old and 22 years old and no kids, like single or in a relationship with not a whole lot of responsibilities and have the ability to go and try things, I would say like go try. Like just go and try and test everything and see what it is that you like to do, but do them one at a time. Like pick one, stick with it for 3 or 4 months, see if you like it or not, and then move on to the next one. You've got to just pick something and start with it until you find out what you like. And not everybody's going to tell you that. I think that, the more responsibilities that you have and the older you become, maybe it's a little bit more important to pick one specific thing. But, for me right now, like I have a lot of different passions and I want to build businesses and, do all these different things. But one of the things that my girlfriend and I want to do is we want to travel. And so I'm stopping business. I'm, literally putting business and stuff on pause or, slowing it way down so that I can go travel the world for 4 or 5 months, because that's what I want to go do and experience and see if I like doing that and see if I can make something of that. And so I think that like you've got to know yourself and what you're okay with. If you're not okay with being broke, like if you don't do well, like for people like me, like I don't do well unless I know that there's cash flow coming in. Like that's just me. I know that about myself. Some people are totally fine to go broke and go down to their last penny and start all over again. And so, if you know yourself well, you know what it is that like your non-negotiables of what you can and can't tolerate. Figure out a way to cover your basis or your basic needs, and then go test things until you find the one that you're most passionate about. Life is very short, but at the same time, like 80, 90 years is a long time to live. And even if you're 40, you're only halfway through your life. You've got 40 or 50 more years to go out and chase passions and do things. So like, don't necessarily feel trapped in just one thing, but at the same time, like do one thing at a time. Don't try to do many.
So you're a sales guru. Would you consider yourself to be a sales guru?
I mean, I don't like the word guru, but I would say that I am pretty darn good at sales. Yeah. I've done about $2.5 million in sales in the past 3 years or so.
I know. Just like you don't like to call Tom Brady your your idol, right?
Not from Omaha.
That was from a podcast. Sorry, guys.
No. Tom Brady's my boy. He's one of my favorites. I would just geek out if I ever meet Tom Brady.
He's my boy too.
Hold on, Patrick Holmes is like one state over from you. How can you?
Bro, I was at the AFC Championship game, 5th row behind Tom Brady's bench. My girlfriend bought me tickets for my birthday. We went down there, 5th row, at the AFC Championship game where we beat Patrick Mahomes to go to the Super Bowl. So he can just look at my boy Tom Brady and go, yeah, he's the GOAT. So
nice. So,
now, and I'm not an Omaha native. I mean, like I only got here 2 years ago, and we're getting ready to move to Miami soon. So like, I'm just passing through.
Oh, so where were you from before that?
Oh man, I mean, I lived in LA for 10 years growing up. I was born in Wisconsin, and at age 1 moved to Los Angeles, and then lived in the suburbs of LA for 10 years, 11 years. And my parents' story is literally my dad quit his job, bought an RV, packed all of us kids in the back of an RV, and we drove across the country, and we're headed for the East Coast, and we stopped in Indiana. So I don't even know how we got there.
Wow.
So, I mean, then I grew up on a farm in Indiana for 10 years, and then I traveled all over the country for a year or so, and now I'm here in Omaha. And
so how has that experience of doing all that helped you in business?
People get too familiar with the same thing over and over again, and they have no perspective of how the rest of the world works.
Except for people
hard.
that listen to Ask Brien, because people will never, ever, ever have a problem listening to that. But go ahead.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying you should not do something. I'm just saying that if you only do one singular thing, it's a very narrow-minded way to view the world. And like a lot of people will go and they'll be like, you know, oh man, I'm from a small town. Nobody's going to pay me money, right? And that was me. I was that kid that didn't think that, I thought that making $12 an hour was amazing and that no one would ever pay me $500 for Instagram services. Well, then I went to Beverly Hills. You know what I mean? And then I was like, oh, okay, these people spend more on their yards in, a month than a lot of people make in a year. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, that perspective, that's a huge perspective change. And when you go to, Nashville, Tennessee, or Miami, New York, LA, like, even, to the beach or into the mountains, like, it brings a lot of perspective. And, I've been, even in a lot of my mistakes, and I've made some really dumb mistakes, even in those mistakes, like, it brings perspective, and you learn where people spend money and how people interact and what people believe. One of the things that I'm so excited about with going and traveling is that, I get to see 14, 15 different countries over the next 4 months. Like, it's going to be amazing, and see all the different culture and how people act and believe and think. And so I think that, the more you do, the more you experience, like, the more you understand things and the better context you have of the world and how the world works. And, people say that, youth is wasted on the young. And it's true for a lot of people, but like if you're young, I am all for you, going and traveling and seeing and doing and really bringing perspective. I think college for most people is the biggest scam and waste of time ever, and that you could use those years and time and money way better and learn way more in so many other fields for most people. I mean, there's certain degrees that make sense, but like by traveling and going and doing and seeing perspective. And so I think that the more you experience and just do things, anything, whatever that is, you get a new perspective of life. And when you're not stuck in the same routine over and over and over again, you're continually expanding your mind of what's possible and how the world works.
Exactly.
We're going to take a break and we'll be right back.
At iLead Agua Dulce, we believe the most important thing a child can learn in school is who they are. Life's real tests are never standardized, which is why we've developed an individual-based curriculum that values exploration, cooperation, and creativity. As our learners grow, so do we. Our tuition-free charter school is currently enrolling grades TK through 7th and adding 8th grade in 2020. Your young learner will be immersed in a unique environment where possibility and self-discovery are at the core of every experience. The Agua Dulce campus features beautiful indoor and outdoor spaces for hands-on inspiration, including a robotics lab, a garden bed, a greenhouse, and a technology-based exploratorium. iLead Agua Dulce is conveniently located on the east side of the Santa Clarita Valley, just off the 14 freeway. Check out our homeschool options too. To schedule a campus tour or learn more about our programs, visit iLeadAguaDulce.org. We're enrolling now. iLead Schools. Free to think, inspired to lead.
If you have a business problem, if someone doesn't honor their agreement and you need an aggressive attorney with over 27 years experience, the law office of Peter Bronstein has helped partners resolve disputes, franchisees resolve disputes, and other business owners who have a challenge. Let the law office of Peter Bronstein take your stress away. Visit lacorporateattorney.com. Don't wait too long and lose your rights. Solve your business challenge problem today. Visit lacorporateattorney.com.
I never thought I'd be looking for an assisted living home until Mom got sick. Suddenly, there were questions that I didn't have answers to, and only limited time to find the answers. What facility could take the best care of Mom? Then my mother's social worker gave me a brochure for assisted living locators and informed me that assisted living locators is recommended by more healthcare professionals than any other agency.
Call Shannon at Assisted Living Locators, 544-1004. That's 544-1004.
The popular Summer Beach Bus is back. The city of Santa Clarita is now offering rides to Santa Monica Beach on Saturdays and Sundays now through September 1st. Forget dealing with traffic or money for parking. Ride to the beach with ease on one of the city's comfortable, air-conditioned commuter express buses. Bring your beach chairs, coolers, and surfboards. Fares are only $3 each way for children and adults, $1.50 each way for seniors 60 years or older, and persons with disabilities. For more information, visit SantaClaritaTransit.com.
Want to give your car that perfect amount of suspension and detailed exhaust system? Time to decorate your RV with detailed upgrades you've been dreaming about? Extreme Autosports can transform your vehicle into your dream vehicle.
This is Sam, the owner of Extreme Autosport SCV. Let me show you our extreme difference.
audio and video, wheels, tires, tints, wraps, suspension, full vehicle repairs, and restoration.
We take care of your vehicle like it's our own.
Extreme Autosports SCV on Soledad, opposite Home Depot.
It's like no other station I've ever listened to. It's great.
Your hometown station.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Ask Brien radio show. And how do we spell it? With an E! ASKBRIEN.com. And my co-host is Lindsay. Man!
All right.
You gotta
Thanks,
be close.
Brian. We have important questions to get to here. So, Josh.
Hold on. And our guest, Josh!
Oh, God. We're going death here.
14. All right.
So, Josh, I have a question, a really important question. There's a lot of people in sales. I have had some sales background, and I just wanted to know, is there a difference, with sales by industry and, other people who may be selling mortgages, who may be selling insurance, health insurance, life insurance, mortgages, whether they're selling vacuum cleaners. How can what you do help? Can it help other salespeople in the industry, other industries?
So the one thing that I think is important to recognize about sales is, like, no matter what you're selling, vacuum cleaners or marketing services or cars or insurance or Instagram, like, at the end of the day, you're selling to people. And all sales works the same at a concept of that level. You're selling to another human being. So human psychology and sales psychology really is the same, whether it's $1,000 deal, a $10,000, $100,000, or a $500,000, or even $1 billion deal. Like, you're selling to the human. And how you go about doing that is going to drastically change. Door-to-door sales looks wildly different than corporate sales, which looks wildly different than online sales funnels. But we're all trying to accomplish the same thing. And so what I teach in sales, and in fact, the sales training that we have out now, we look at human nature and we look at, like, sales psychology and what actually we're looking to do. And I think that where a lot of salespeople go wrong is they try to sell the product. They try to sell the features. They try to sell how amazing this is, when in reality, none of it matters. What matters is what ultimately the other person, the buyer, the prospect, what matters is what they want and what they're perceiving this is going to do for them. And so when you understand, like, in any amount of sales, like, and this is true in marketing as well, like, you have internal objections, you have external objections, and you have vehicle objections. And when you realize, okay, like, what are each one of those? And when you look at the brain and you've got this, the three different parts of the brain, and you look at the croc part of the brain, and, like, the brain that makes decisions, the logical part of the brain, the emotional part of the brain, like, when you understand humans at a very basic level, and you understand, I mean, this is why psychology is so important, then all you have to do is figure out how your style of selling makes sure to hit each one of the points that you need to hit. So for me, it might be a Facebook ad to a sales funnel to a application to a phone call, me, right? And during that Facebook ad to this, the whole process of getting on the phone with me, I'm going to be knocking out a lot of objections there that I'm not going to have to handle on that phone call anymore. Whereas if you're door-to-door sales, they don't have any, experience to you. Or if you're talking to corporate, like, they're automatically not wanting to talk to you or not wanting to give you money, whatever that is. So you've got to figure out, okay, like, how do I go and handle each one of the things that could potentially stop the sale, and how do I play on the thing that is going to make a sale? And when you really understand that, all sales is the same. And I am quite confident that I could sell just about anything to anyone when I figure out the pain points that I need to press and the psychological buttons that I need to find and push, and, the connection that needs to be made around the product of whatever it is that I'm selling. I'm not selling a vacuum cleaner. I'm selling cleaner carpet. I'm selling an experience of a, healthier lifestyle for your kids and for your family. I'm selling the whitest carpet to impress your guests. You know what I mean? Like, you're selling so many things besides the actual product itself.
Oh, we've got to wrap it up. You've been a great guest, and next time you're going to teach us how to sell ice to Eskimos.
And for all of our listeners out there, you guys can catch Josh at thinkdifferenttheory.com.